And what's up, everybody? Unfortunately, due to a current technical issue, I can't record, so I'm doing most of my rants like this. Today, I decided that I'm going to do on MMOs, which, for those of you who don't know what an MMO, it's a massive multiplayer online game. Now, we have quite a few MMOs out there currently. World of Warcraft, we have MapleStory, and quite a few others. We have upcoming MMOs like Warhammer Online and so on and so forth. Now, anybody who's ever played an MMO knows it's one of the more funner community-based games. I mean, if I had to choose between that and Xbox Live, I think I'll take the MMO. Now, I'm gonna break down far as each MMO in general. For instance, World of Warcraft. Warcraft itself, from Blizzard Entertainment, which we are used to seeing a lot of just regular, how can I say, strategy-based games from. I had to say, when I first played World of Warcraft, it was a fun game. You had innovative gameplay styles. So it literally was the skeleton for every other MMO that we've played so far. When it came out, it really shined a lot of light on far as what it truly is to play an MMO. Then then eventually the community got worse and worse as it went along. We wound up with, how can I say it? A lot of unwanted people, between people who like to scream about I'm gonna put it like this. It was pretty much the whole entire Xbox Live basis. Now you had people screaming about how you suck, so on and so forth, completely ruining the gameplay. Now, with their recent expansion being released, Wrath of the Lich King, I have to say World of Warcraft itself has gone down the drain, partially because even though it was a great game, it was a wonderful game, it became too repetitive. The gameplay never changed. While yes, they added new classes each time with the expansion, very much they also wound up taking things away, which ruined some of the former things that made you love it. For instance, when I really didn't start playing World of Warcraft till about the second expansion, which was, the Burning Crusade. Now, when I played Burning Crusade, I made a Night Elf. I made a Paladin. Not a Night Elf, I'm sorry. I made a Blood Elf, which was a Paladin. I love the Mana Tap. I love the Arcane Turret. It was a cool combination to use between both. After about a month or two, you kind of get bored with grinding if you don't play with friends. So my advice is, if you're going to play it, play with friends. Reliable friends. When the Wrath of the Lich King pack came out, they removed some of the stuff. Like they removed Mana Tap, they added glyphs, and they added other things, which kind of just made me sit there and be completely lost. And if you ask me, that was one of their downsides. I understand they're trying to switch up the gameplay a bit, which is smart because you don't want it to become overrun and boring. But there's some elements you just don't remove. You can add, but don't remove. Because for some of us who are used to the former game style play, when you remove things that we were so used to using before, we have to completely switch our game style again. Which is not exactly always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes, you should just leave it the way it is. If it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, how can I put it? Then we have other MMOs such as, MapleStory. Now, I played MapleStory, and it was an interesting little game to play. I mean, in a sense, it was the same basis as World of Warcraft. Only difference is it's 2D sprites and you run across a screen. Now, this is actually semi-entertaining. It's actually entertaining. I can't lie. It's entertaining. I mean, especially when you play with friends. But this is the whole point to MMOs. You don't play by yourself. You play with friends. You get a community of friends. You have fun. You run around. You do quests together, the whole nine. Now, MapleStory, like I said, the only downside to MapleStory was this. Yes, it's a free game, which was a perk. But to get all the really cool stuff, you had to spend cash. That was the only way you were getting the really cool stuff. As far as the way to make you look like an individual and not like one of the bland rest of them. Which, I admit, it was actually kind of smart on Nexon's part. They're giving us a free game. Shit. They got to figure some way of making a small profit off of this. And Nexon had been doing MMOs for a while. This was not their first attempt. This This was more along the lines of, I think, maybe the third or fourth, because before that they had like maybe two other games, and I can't really get into that one too much. But now another game that was an MMO that came out, which was actually a great disappointment to me, was the Star Wars game, which was released a good while back. Now, I didn't play it personally, but I had a lot of friends who did, and their complaints were all the same. They had serious lag problems. They had problems with the fact that one of the major problems was the fact that you had too many people running around as Jedis and pulling off crap. Like, the Jedi powers weren't working too well. They looked shitty, and it was just horrible. Now, as a Star Wars fan, you know, if I'm gonna have a Star Wars MMO, I want that shit to be good. Now, there's the new Star Wars MMO that's coming out, which I actually have good hopes for. Which is, I think it's called the Knights Republic or the Old Republic. I can't remember. All I know is it's based off the old KOTOR games. Which, if anyone played the KOTOR games, remember. Well, there's mixed feelings about it. Some say it's crap, some say it's good. I personally love those games. Those games were great. While yes, you pretty much every class was the same. You had the same amount of force powers and so forth. The second one made up for it. So if you're gonna complain about that, get over it. But the new Knights of the Old Republic MMO that's coming out, I'm so waiting for. I can't wait to see how it comes out. It's being done by BioWare, so hopefully they make up for their past MMOs. Now, another MMO that came out is the overused franchise, which was the Final Fantasies. We all remember, I believe it was 11 and 12 that was the MMOs. I can't remember. I felt great. It was 12. Okay. But now, I didn't play those games. I didn't play it, but to my understanding it's semi-entertainable. If you like the Final Fantasy universe, then go right ahead. Play the MMOs, but my advice is, unless you got a really good connection, it's not worth it. Okay. But I mean, MMOs in general are pretty much taking a downward slide mainly because of the Xbox community. Nothing against Bill Gates or the Xbox community. Unless you're thinking, how is it because of the Xbox community? Well, it's because of this. Because of the Xbox community, they've literally introduced a whole new group of players. So now, because of Xbox Live, where you have multiple people running around having fun, yelling, screaming, mainly Halo, which anybody who played Halo knows that's not a great game to play with because, unless you're playing with friends, it's worthless. Because then you have 50 million people screaming of how they're your mother, so on and so forth. But now, because of that, we now have some of those players from Xbox Live sliding over into MMOs like World of Warcraft. Like, I've noticed the community for, like I was saying before, the community for World of Warcraft is slowly going downhill and into a depression, you might as well say. More and more people who I played with before when I used to play World of Warcraft are no longer playing anymore because A, the gameplay is repetitive, like I said earlier, and B, the players are just assholes, man, and that's being honest. I mean, if you're in a PvP server, it's the worst server to be in when you're trying to if you just want to enjoy the gameplay. If like you're a first-time player, do not do a PvP server because it's literally player versus player. And if you go anywhere within Horde territory in your alliance, they're gonna kill you, not caring. And then they'll repeatedly kill you just because they can. They'll stay around your body, wait till you res, and then come kill you again, which is a pain in the ass on your gold and your time. So this is what happens. Luckily for MapleStory, well, one of the main problems with MapleStory that a lot of people complain is that they don't like it, is there's no player versus player. Well, yes, there is no player versus player, but there are competitive stuff in MapleStory where players are against each other. Like the arena. The arena in there, you know, you have competitions where whoever kills the most monsters or so on and so forth, you know, wins a prize and so on and so forth. Which is good. I mean, I like it. I mean, I hate freaking PKing all day. If you want to PK, go to RuneScape, which is another MMO, which I actually have a serious problem with. I mean, okay, yeah, RuneScape, people are liking it because it's free and, you know, but when you really think about it, it's gay. You're running around with not even a real sprite. You're running around with you might as well say shell-shaded character with no face, no real distinctive characteristics. And you're running around collecting capes. I mean, there's nothing really innovative about it. And what? You can't go out in the wild, because if you go out in the wild, if you leave your town, you're gonna get killed by someone repeatedly just so they can take your stuff. And they'll constantly keep doing it. The minute you walk out in the wild, if you die, that's it. You lose all your gear, everything you've had. And it's not a very fun game. I've tried it, and it's like, ugh. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think I've seen worse MMOs, but when it comes to it, it's still on the bottom of the food chain. But, well, this has been my rant on MMOs. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Go to hell. Anyway, laters.
I'm found in Colorado. Anyway, the wind blows, that's my motto. Straight across the Golden Gate to the Arizona. But for now, people, roll with me, stroll with me, walk with me, the urban tumbleweed.